and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live evening Manchester United transfer news, update, news and general chit-chat show with the transfer window obviously being open. But today's day is a different day. Today's day, I will not be talking about when the Hojlund bid will be. I will be talking about the fact that the Hojlund bid has come in. Manchester United officially put in a €60 million bid for Rasmus Hojlund, €50 million up front plus 10 million in add-ons. Atalanta's still hoping for a little bit more money, and Padella says that United will probably have this bid rejected, then going for a higher bid, then the deal will likely be done. Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano believe a deal will be done, but PSG is still in the race, and Manchester United have got to be careful. We're going to get into reports. United are in advanced talks with Atalanta over Rasmus Hojlund. A bid has gone in. An agreement feels that it can be struck in the coming days, and Hojlund to United is starting to move particularly quickly. So if we start in with what David Ornstein said and what Fabrizio Romano said, it was said by David Ornstein today that Manchester United make a verbal offer to Atalanta for Rasmus Hojlund, €50 million plus 10 million euros in add-ons. Atalanta do want 70 million euros, personal terms in place, talks ongoing, and optimism of striking a deal. Other options if needed. PSG is still in the race. Now, what I will say is PSG are in the race. PSG ready to make a bid for Rasmus Hojlund. However, Rasmus Hojlund literally turned down PSG for United. PSG offered Rasmus Hojlund way more money than we offered him, and he turned down PSG for United. So if you're PSG, why are you going for a player that clearly wants us and not you? I don't know. PSG is silly. But Fabrizio Romano obviously confirmed this news today and confirmed that United have put in their first bid for Rasmus Hojlund, which is good news, and hopefully deal will move soon. And then obviously TalkSport have said that United are in advanced talks with Atalanta over a deal for Rasmus Hojlund, and this was later confirmed by Romano. Now, just to clarify, Atalanta wants £60 million in total, including add-ons. Manchester United's current bid adds up to about £51 million in total, including add-ons. Manchester United actually made a bid of £42.8 million plus £8.5 million in add-ons. Now, I think for United to get the deal done, if they can turn the £42.8 million upfront price into £45 million and then have the £8.5 million add-ons on top of that, that would come to £53.5 million. And I do think £45 million upfront, which is just over €50 million up front, could get the deal done. That would take it to around €65 million if we can just up that bid by about, if we can up that bid for about £3.5 million more up front, I think the Rasmus Hojlund deal will be done. It is said that Atalanta want more than £60 million for Hojlund, but dialogue is ongoing, and optimism is that a deal could be struck around the £60 million mark, including add-ons. Hopefully a deal could be struck around 45 million up front and then 5 million add-ons, taking it to the £55 million mark. But Atalanta obviously pushing for more money. Now, I want to say this with the PSG story, and I want to say this to PSG news. Sometimes I sit here and sometimes I wonder, is the PSG story, is the PSG news that PSG going to hijack it? Maybe a potential trick from Atalanta to speed the deal along. I think that's definitely something you've got to take into consideration as well. Could Atalanta be trying to speed this deal done as well? We will be talking about McTominay leaving in just a second, but I just want to cover the Rasmus Hojlund news quickly as well. David Ornstein says dialogue is ongoing between Manchester United and Atalanta for Rasmus Hojlund, with optimism that a deal will be done. United feel that a deal will be done. And the United Musketeers had to say that the only thing that complicates Hojlund negotiations is PSG. That's why Atalanta seem to be asking for more money, because PSG are ready to put in an offer and ready to even include a player like Etike in the offer, which could be driving up the price tag a bit, because Romano has said that they would accept €60 million, which is essentially what United have put in now, but it's now said that they want €70 million, and that might be because of the offers they've got from PSG. Now, Fabrizio Romano has come out and said that Manchester United have to be fast in negotiations with Atalanta for Rasmus Hojlund, as PSG are making an important bid for the player, and that's why United will be looking to do the deal quickly. And DiMarzio, again, a fantastic source, said that Manchester United want to close the deal for Rasmus Hojlund at €70 million plus bonuses, and the parties are hoping that a deal can be done by the weekend. There is a feeling Rasmus Hojlund will be done this week, and it was said by DiMarzio, which I think is a massive, massive green flag. And although PSG are definitely a threat in this is what fills me with confidence. It's the fact that Rasmus Hojlund made it clear he wants to go to United. PSG are offering a higher wage to Rasmus Hojlund, but he still prefers to move to Old Trafford. He still has personal terms agreed with Manchester United. So very, very positive on that front. It's obvious that Rasmus Hojlund is a big United fan as well. I will get into the live chat in just a second, just making sure I get through all the news. But it was said, Alice, I don't want us to bid any higher than €60 million. You have to bid verbally, but we can restructure the bid at 55 plus 5 million opposed to 50 plus 10 million in add-ons. I think you probably might have to go to like €63 million to get it done. But I do think United could potentially go with €55 million in add-ons and maybe change it 5 million more. But I do think a deal could be struck particularly quick as well. It was also said by Alfredo Padella that this move is expected to happen quickly and all of that as well. The very reliable Padella put in that for Hojlund. As for Onana, Manchester United will start low with an offer, then increase. The first offer for Onana was 40 plus 5 million. Calm down and be patient. So Padella made it very clear. United's first offer has come in. Don't worry about it. This first offer will be lower. That'll probably get rejected. They're probably coming for a second offer. And Padella saying the way United are going to go about this is the same they went about with the Onana situation. Put in a bid, it's rejected. Put in another bid, it's probably accepted. Just faff about as well. And it said, that will likely happen. It was also said by TalkSport that Manchester United have been in discussions all week around Hojlund, and it's expected a deal will happen in the coming days. And obviously, as per Romano, Manchester United have put in that first bid and that first offer for Rasmus Hojlund as well. Go for Kolo Muani, even 60 million is more than enough. I mean, Manchester United are still open and still have talks with Kolo Muani going on just in case. David Ornstein says United are open to signing Kudus and Kolo Muani if Hojlund doesn't go through. Now, Kudus is more of a false nine rather than a striker profile we need, and I think Kudus is on the verge of joining Chelsea or Arsenal. But I think if this falls through, if PSG do something crazy and we're not going to pay a ridiculous amount of PSG, then I think Muani to United could heat up. But I actually think that this PSG news is being driven a bit more by Atalanta. I think PSG have an interest in Rasmus Hojlund, but I think the pure fact that Rasmus Hojlund went to PSG and rejected them for Manchester United, even though PSG offered Rasmus Hojlund much higher wages, the fact that Rasmus Hojlund rejected PSG for Manchester United gives me pretty good confidence that United will get this deal done. I think that a lot of the PSG news coming in and that PSG are going to put in a bigger bid could be Atalanta trying to drive up the price. I think PSG will put a bid, they will put an offer. But if you're PSG and you're seeing this player reject you and choose Man United over you, why would you go and bid 80 million for him? Do you know what I mean? I think that is Atalanta spinning the narrative to just try and see if they can get a little bit more money out of United. But I do think that things will move for Rasmus Hojlund particularly quickly as well. Kolo Muani is more than a Rashford. To be honest, I don't know a lot about Kolo Muani because he doesn't move me a lot. I can't lie. I've kind of gone off Bundesliga's players. And I know it's not stereotypical, but because Bundesliga players just haven't hit it in the Premier League, apart from Haaland. But Haaland is Haaland. I haven't done loads of research on Bundesliga players, but I've done a lot of research on Rasmus Hojlund to United. I'm a big fan of Rasmus Hojlund, and I think that Rasmus Hojlund will be a great fit. And personally, myself, I prefer the idea of signing someone like Rasmus Hojlund over Muani. And I really hope United get it done because the more and more research I do on Rasmus Hojlund, the more excited I am about the potential of this signing. I just think the guy in there makes runs, he gets goals, he gets assists. Yes, his numbers aren't as insane as maybe some people would like. Some people obviously have quite high expectations for numbers and stuff, but he's a very, very good player as well. And everyone I know in Denmark ranks Rasmus very highly as well. Muani expects to be 100 million. Ramos, Taremi, Kolo Muani, Santiago Gimenez. We are looking at an abundance of other strikers as well. Someone said just bid the 70 million euros and get it done. I don't think he's worth 70 million euros. I mean, part of me is like, should we just bid Atalanta what they want and get it done to stop the threat of PSG? But I don't think PSG are that big of a threat, and I don't think that he is worth 70 million euros. So I think United might have to just bid in about 65 million euros, and I do think that will probably be enough to get the deal done. I've got a lot of other news to talk about. I don't want to spend the whole video talking about Rasmus Hojlund, but obviously very positive news on the Rasmus Hojlund front as well. Keep smashing the like button, people. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. And Rasmus baby. And I have to say, I've said this multiple times about Rasmus Hojlund, but he is 6'3". He is quick. He is physical. He knows when to be in the box. He knows how to take up a great position. He provides a focal point. He makes the runs. Ten Hag said that he wants to be the best transitional team in the world. Rasmus Hojlund knows when to make those runs. When you've got players like Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, and a player like Rasmus Hojlund knowing when to make those runs, it's going to be scary next season. When you've got a player that will be in the box to receive the crosses, we basically played the whole of last season without striker. Ronaldo didn't want to be it, and Ronaldo was pony. Martial was breadstick legs, and their course was pony. You've got to remember, we came third place last season, and this is why I'm positive about the season up and coming. Man United came third place last season. Man United came third place and they won a trophy. Despite having David De Gea in goal, which was many restrictions to the control of the game, the way we played out the back did not help us in build-up. We came third with Eriksen that was not fit and could not keep up with the tempo against the big teams, and we didn't have a striker. We're adding in a striker like Rasmus Hojlund, who is young, he's hungry, he wants to come to United, he's turned down PSG for Manchester United, a player that knows when to make those runs, presses, does everything Ten Hag wants off the ball, and has potential and ability to be a world-class player on top of that, and is already a good player. You're adding the striker profile that we need. Even having a player like Rasmus Hojlund in the side will make an imminent impact. People don't realise how imminent the impact of Rasmus Hojlund will be. We don't have a striker. We don't have someone getting in striker positions. Although I like Sancho at false nine, he's been playing well. Rasmus Hojlund provides a focal point. He provides someone to give the ball to. A lot of times United have too many attacks and are too little clinical. They don't know what to do with the ball. They overplay the pass. They overplay the dribble. It goes out. Nothing happens. They've now got strikers, someone to give the ball to. Rasmus Hojlund makes an imminent impact. Andre Onana comes in and obviously makes a fantastic imminent impact on Manchester United, the way we play. Andre Onana means that we can play a higher line. Andre Onana will almost act like another centre-back. And Manchester United will be so much better playing out from the back in a much more controller games, and will be able to move the ball quicker, be able to pass the ball from back to front quicker. And obviously having someone like Mason Mount covering so much ground and pressing allows United to press higher up the pitch, become more of a threat, and of course cover a lot more ground and keep up with the energy of rivals. Because at the end of the day, sometimes when we lose games, we actually look back at it and go, they're running a lot more than us. So the additions of Rasmus Hojlund, Mount and Onana are really positive on the way we play. Amrabat set to be next, which again is an improvement in terms of our bench depth, someone that can do the Casemiro as backup. But when you're actually looking at it, we could be getting Amrabat for £25 million and selling McTomminay for £40 million. Like lots and lots of positives coming in. So I do want to get into the Amrabat news. I do want to get into the McTominay news in just a second. But selling McTominay and getting Amrabat for 15 million less would be good business as well. I'll say this again on this takeover. These multi-billion-dollar takeovers take a long time, longer than a year probably, sadly. The sale will happen. We just have to wait. I'm with Kevin. I'm being impatient because I think while I know that these process takes time, it's the lack of communication between the Glazers and us, which I'm impatient. But the longer and longer goes on, the less confident I feel. But you also have to remember rationally that takeovers do take a long time, and it is potentially very likely that the Glazers are still looking to sell. They're just delaying. They're just taking their time. They've got a lot of work to do, and that's a fair stance, to be honest, in regards to the United takeover. Now, we've spoken about Rasmus Hojlund. I do want to dive a little bit into McTominay news. I do want to have a bit of a rant though. Galatasaray keep putting in bids for Fred. But I'm talking 10 million euro bids. I am sorry. No. We put a 15 to 20 million pound price tag on Fred. We put a 20 million price tag on Fred, which means we'll probably accept 15 million pounds. Fulham interested in Fred for 15 million pounds. Saudi Arabia interested in Fred for 15 million pounds. Galatasaray can F off with their 10 million euro bid for Fred. That is an absolute pathetic bid. It is taking the mick. And if United accept that, that's stupid. Because I tell you what, Fred was our most important bench player last season. You might think I'm wrong, but when we ended up the season pretty much playing Casemiro, Fred, Bruno, because Eriksen was a bit iffy. Fred still has some use at United. I think, actually, Fred has more use than McTominay and more use than a lot of players we're selling as a bench player. So if we're not going to get more than 15 million for Fred, we should tell them to adios. However, it has been said that Ten Hag has made his decision to sell Fred and that Fred will not return to United. Now, talking of Fred, we're talking about Fred's partner in crime, McTominay. Now, McTominay is a big one to sell because McTominay could raise £40 million. And as Alex said on the live chat yesterday, what's the point in keeping McTominay for another season to be a part bench player? His value will just decrease if he's not playing regularly. And that is true. I think Manchester United's best chance to cash in on McTominay is if they sell him now. He's not going to play a lot this season. You might as well cash in and sell him now. When you've got West Ham, you've just got 105 million for Declan Rice. West Ham can afford to spend 40 million on McTominay, and his wages aren't ridiculous. The thing about West Ham getting 100 million for Declan Rice is I think we would have accepted around the 30 million part for McTominay. But because West Ham are coming in, United are playing games and saying, you know what, Scott McTominay, we want 40 million pounds. And you know what? Fair play to United. They got 105 million for Declan Rice. We could play hardball. Now, I thought when we were asking for £45 million for Scott McTominay, it was ridiculous. I thought West Ham would be silly. But I actually think a deal which maybe would be struck at £35 million with £5 million in add-ons is a very fair deal for McTominay. David Moyes apparently is ready to lean onto his Man United contracts and complete a stunning move, £40 million move for McTominay. Reports and sources are coming out that the deal for McTominay could be done at £40 million. And I tell you this now, £40 million for McTominay, £15 million for Elanga, £15 million for Fred. If we get £70 million from McTominay, Fred and Elanga, I will be very happy with that. We could also get another £30 million for Maguire. So you're telling me we could get £100 million for McTominay, Fred, Elanga and Maguire. I would be very, very happy with that. That would be 100 million out, and that would be fantastic business. But 40 million for McTominay, it would be fantastic business for United. I think they are playing their price a bit high because they know West Ham got 105 million for Declan Rice. But I actually think West Ham's best bet would be signing McTominay to do the Souček role and then spending another 40 million on Paulinho to do the defensive role, and then that extra 35 million left on elsewhere. Now, I think that McTominay actually would be a good player for West Ham if they utilise him right. I think if West Ham want McTominay to do the Declan Rice role, he is not the best option. He's not a 6, but I think if McTominay does the Souček role, I actually think he is an improvement on Thomas Souček. I actually think Thomas Souček has become one of the most overrated players in football. He had a particularly first good season at West Ham, scored a lot of goals, but actually I don't think he's been that good for West Ham. I think that Declan Rice is an unbelievable player. I think players like Benrahma are incredibly underrated for West Ham, but I actually think Souček has become quite overrated. And I think from a West Ham perspective, I think McTominay, for me, is more of a Souček replacement. But £40 million deal for Scott McTominay, people. £40 million deal. And this is possible. McTominay is actually one of the few players that we haven't given ludicrous wages to. McTominay, reportedly, and we said this in my video earlier, is actually interested in leaving United. The thing about McTominay is we can question his ability. He's not a 6. We can question a lot of things McTominay can do. Bailly is close to Al Nassr, says Nick, and that's absolutely correct. So we'll get into that in a second. But we can question a lot of things McTominay does on the pitch. But one thing I will never question about McTominay is his work rate. One thing you get with Scott is he's a very hard-working player. He's got everything you want in a player in terms of mentality and work rate. Every manager loves him for a reason, and he's an ambitious guy. He's the type of guy who goes, you know what? Ten Hag loves Kobbie Mainoo. They're bringing in Amrabat. They've got Casemiro. I'm not going to get my minutes. I want to get my minutes. I'm 26. I'm in my prime. I want to go to West Ham. And you know what? I love that from McTominay. And I will never fault McTominay's mentality. I will never fault his attitude. I sometimes just fault his performance on the pitch being consistently average. I think that he has really good performances for Man United, but they're not consistent enough. You have 5 stinkers, 5 average games, and then a good performance. I think, for McTominay, when we utilise him in the right position and number 8 role, he can be important. I actually thought he filled in the Casemiro role quite well at points this season as well. And I think he did a job and he did a shift, but he's someone that's been at United so long, had so many games that you just know that he's a good Premier League player, but for the way United want to go and the direction Manchester United want to go, McTominay isn't good enough to be a regular. So while, I praise McTominay for his mentality and stuff, I think the best thing United can do is sell him for £40 million. I think that would be absolutely fantastic business because I think he's really a £30 million player in my book. And I think there's just tax on West Ham because they've got 105 million for Rice. I think, the fact that Conor Gallagher's being quoted at £50 million to West Ham, I think it's tax as well. I think that 40 million is the most I see from McTominay. Yeah, I think, to be honest, £35 million is fair. I think 40 million is a slight overpayment, but as West Ham got 105 million for Rice, you're just getting taxed. That's what happens as well. West Ham also interested in Maguire. So West Ham, if you want to buy Maguire off us as well, that would be very good as well. Daniel's obviously a big West Ham fan in the chat, and I think Benrahma is one of your most underrated players. And Souček's a good player, but I thought last season he was a bit iffy. But we'll have to see what happens with him as well. Scott McTominay plays so well for Scotland. I think he'll fit at United, just not right for him. Let him thrive somewhere else. Exactly. Positive vibes here. Not quite right for United. Have enough chances for United. Not been good enough. I think it's time for Scott McTominay to move on somewhere else. And I think players like McTominay and Maguire, he's got a lot of stick at United, particularly Maguire because he's captain and £80 million. I think they are good players. I think people were saying get rid of Maguire and replace him with Johnny Evans. Like, Maguire is a better player than Johnny Evans. Let's think about this logically. And Scott McTominay is a better player than Sean Longstaff. When we're linked to Sean Longstaff, people thought, no, yes, Sean McTominay get Longstaff. Well, actually, to be honest, the Longstaff players have impressed me a little bit lately. But they're not. They've had the chance at United, and they're good players, but they're not good enough for United. They're not good enough for the way we want to go. And I think you sell them elsewhere. And it's better for them. It's better for us. And £40 million for McTominay, for me, that covers the Amrabat. Amrabat is going to cost us £25 million. Amrabat has agreed to join United. I reckon we'll probably get £35 million. I think we'll get £30 to £35 million from McTominay. Realistically, I think we get £30 to £35 million from McTominay from West Ham. I think that will be negotiated down. Let's say we get £35 million for Scott McTominay and we buy Amrabat for £25 million. Fantastic business from Manchester United. And one thing I want to talk about before I get into some other news, before I get into some other stories, and my eye is twitching. I don't know what's happening, but for the last couple of weeks, I keep getting this weird, eye twitch in the same eye. I don't know why. It's happening for weeks. It's my bad eye as well. But anyway, it was said, and I thought this was a really good tweet and positive vibes on the channel. We will talk about Lavia to Liverpool as well. But it was said one thing that we have done is not give out ridiculously high wages. Yes, Mason Mount is on 200k a week, but that is just matching his offer at Chelsea. They try and play it that he was on 250k a week. Shut up, he's on 200k a week. Andre Onana, 120k a week. Considering David De Gea was on 350 grand a week, Andre Onana is on less than half of David De Gea's wages. Rasmus Hojlund's agreed a deal with United to be on 75k a week. Remember, PSG offered Rasmus Hojlund 100k a week, and Amrabat apparently agreed a deal with United to be on 90k a week. So actually, for me, good wages is anything under 150k a week. Now, to be honest, I think, you know, there's still high wages, there's still ridiculous wages, but when you're a club like United and you are playing in the Premier League, you have to give out pretty high wages. But you know, we've been giving out 400k a week in wages to De Gea, 350k a week in wages to Sancho, 250k a week in wages to Martial. At least our new signings are coming in on decent wages. And I think that's such a positive thing. I think that's such a big thing for United because it's easier to sell them. I think the reason McTominay is going to be a lot easier to sell them than a lot of other players like Maguire and Martial was because McTominay's on like 60k a week or something, which is quite affordable in football compared to, you know, Martial on 250k a week, Maguire on over 200k a week. McTominay's on affordable wages. And I think one thing United have got completely wrong in the past is wage structure. If they can gradually bring that wage structure down, I think Liverpool have a good wage structure. That will be really important for them because you know players are signing for the right reasons. Mason Mount got offered the same wages at Chelsea, but had a conversation with Ten Hag and liked Ten Hag's project more and thought it was best for his career to do Ten Hag's project because Ten Hag literally presented to Mason Mount how he sees him as a player, how we will use him, how we utilize him. Ten Hag did his research on Mason Mount and said, I'm going to make you the best player you can be by doing this, this, and that. Andre Onana obviously has worked with Ten Hag. Ten Hag presented his project, how he wants to play. Andre Onana is the player for that. Rasmus Hojlund gets offered 100k a week by PSG, 75k a week by United. He's a United fan. He likes Ten Hag's project. He wants to play in the Premier League. He chooses United. And Amrabat had interest from Liverpool, who are now pursuing Lavia and Atletico Madrid, but has agreed to deal with United. And again, Amrabat off the back of a good World Cup. All the Ten Hag signings are coming for the right reasons. Amrabat is getting the big move in his career. He's a good player. This is the first big club he's gone to. Rasmus Hojlund's getting that big move in his career. Andre Onana's just going to play in the Premier League, and Mason Mount's going to revive his career. And all four players that Man United have signed, I think, are particularly hungry for success, particularly hungry to be a better player. We're not doing the Di Marias, the Falcaos, the Alexis Sanchez, come on a big wage. We're doing the players that are hungry to prove themselves, hungry to get back to their best and be a part of a team, be a part of a new generation at United, hard-working Ten Hag era, and get United back to the top. And I think the way we've approached this transfer window, I think is exciting as well in terms of actually personalities. I think it's not just about signing good players, it's about signing hard-working players, players with the right kind of personality as well. So please do smash the like button as well. Yeah, I'm just reading a few chats here as well. Alice, we should put 45 million plus add-ons, bonuses to 6 million. Well, I think Man United bid will be rejected for Rasmus Hojlund, and then they will put another one that's higher as well. Why are we struggling to shift Edwards? Just wages. And at the end of the day, this is the problem. I can't go in on Murta and Arnold and be like, why haven't you sold Martial? Because when you go to buy Martial, you look at his injury record. Okay, he started, 9 Premier League games? He couldn't play a full 90 minutes all season. He's on 250k a week. What part of you, doesn't matter who you are, wants to buy Martial on 250k a week who can play 9 games a season? No one. He's always injured. He wasn't even brilliant. Maguire, all right, it's a solid centre-back. Maguire's a good centre-back. Cool. West Ham, good centre-back. Maguire would be fantastic for West Ham. Maguire would be good for a lot of clubs. Over 200 grand a week. We ain't paying you over 200 grand a week. Like, we're West Ham. Like, we'd only pay the best of the best 200k a week. We can't. That's the problem. It's the wages. You know, with McTomminay, he can be sold. With Fred, he can be sold. His wages are a bit iffy, but he can be sold. Because Fred, the thing about McTomminay and Fred is we've had our issues with McFred. They've not been the best. They've not been the most amazing players, but they want to play. They want to work hard. They're happy to leave United for the game time. Ten Hag's pretty much made it clear. I like Maino. I like Amrabat. I view them more highly than you. I want to get Amrabat in. I view Maino as the future. Obviously, Casemiro, Mount, and Bruno's the main midfield three. Eriksen's my first choice off the bench. Amrabat will be my second choice off the bench, and Maino will be my third choice off the bench. Donny, Fred, Scott, McTominay. At the end of the day, I'm happy to keep one or two of you around. You can be good bit part players, but if you want to play week in, week out, you've got to leave United. McTominay, Fred would take a wage cut for regular game time. Perfect. Martial, he would have to take a significant wage cut. Martial ain't getting more than 50 grand a week with his injury record. Might as well stay at United for another year. Maguire would have to at least half his wages as well. That's one of the reasons that it is so difficult to us to sell players. And you know what? You've got one person to blame for that. Ed Woodward. Ed was still to this day, going on the problems Ed Woodward caused us. Still to this day, Ed Woodward. I can't even go in on Murta. I can't even go on Arnold. A lot of the big problems we have is caused by Ed Woodward. People don't realise Ed Woodward the problems he caused us, it will take a good 5 years for us to get over them. We're 2 years out of Edward Wood, another 3 years for them to be sorted as well. I still can't believe we paid 80 million for Maguire to start with. What the hell were we thinking? Ed Woodward. I have a feeling that Eric Ten Hag has an interest in Disasi. Kim Min-jae was his preferred centre-back since they failed to sign him. Eric Ten Hag has not been too keen on any other centre-backs. Maybe Maguire stays. Would love Tomori, said Sad Not Taken. I will say this again. Fabrizio Romano said this. Fabrizio Romano, right, we know how brilliant Fabrizio Romano is. He essentially came out and said, Manchester United's focus was on Rasmus Hojlund. A bid will go in for Rasmus Hojlund this week. Bid has gone in this week. Manchester United will sign Rasmus Hojlund. Then after Rasmus Hojlund, they will look to sign a midfielder with Amrabat top of the list. Amrabat being considered the most. And after signing Amrabat, there is an interest in potentially bringing in another centre-back, but that would depend on sales. That is kind of the situation Manchester United in regards to ins and outs as well. Please do smash the like button. Of course, subscribe down below to the channel if you're new as well. Hojlund isn't proven yet, but was Rooney proven when Ronaldo proven when they joined United? No, it's a player that is a good player that has lots of potential that could become proven at United as well. And Alice, do you think we'll end up getting just these 4 players or more? I think it depends on outs. I think if we sell McTomminay, we sell Fred, we sell Dean Henderson, we've already sold Elanga, and we sell Maguire. If we sell Maguire, there's definitely another centre-back coming in. I think it will be Hojlund and Nana, Mount, Amrabat. I think the rest depends on sales. If we sell a few players, maybe a last-minute attacker in. But I think it would be another centre-back maybe at the end of the window after Amrabat. But I think a lot of that will depend on Maguire. 50 likes to 100 likes. Guys, come on, let's hit 200 likes by the end of the live stream. So please do smash that like button as well. And Paqueta's West Ham's highest paid player as well. And Paqueta's on quite high wages, but they don't want it. West Ham won't be giving Maguire 200 grand a week. Let's be honest here. That would be crazy as well. The frustrating thing about Martial is that he's fantastic on his day. If only he could stay fit, then our quest for a forward wouldn't be as desperate. Yeah, the thing about Martial is on his day he's good, but he's not always consistent when he plays. He is a bit of an in-out player, but he's also constantly injured, which is annoying as well. We've got breaking news coming in here, guys, that Nottingham Forest are edging closer to an agreement with Manchester United over signing Dean Henderson. However, the downside is this still is an initial loan with an obligation to buy. So there's an obligation to buy. They will have to buy Dean Henderson at the end of the season. But it is another loan deal for Dean Henderson. I don't know why we can't just go out there and get 25, 30 million for Dean Henderson. Bish, bash, bosh, get the deal done. Do you know what I mean? But you know what? Nottingham Forest want to loan Dean Henderson. Maybe that was part of the Elanga deal, or we'll give you Dean Henderson on loan with an obligation to buy as well. Guys, keep smashing likes, keep subscribing. Dean Henderson set to go to Forest. However, it's not what would you say? It's a loan deal with an obligation to buy, which is positive. But I just wish we could sell him. But to be honest, we gave Dean Henderson ridiculous wages. So what do they expect? But I saw this really good tweet earlier that I wanted to discuss actually, and then I will get into a few more live chats. My phone's just gone ping, ping, ping. Oh no, just Facebook for some reason. But anyway. It was said, the frustrating thing about Martial is that he's fantastic on his day. If only he could stay fit, and our question 4 wouldn't be so desperate. Well, I've read that chat out. So I meant to be reading the screen. It was said, Mount rejected similar proposals from Liverpool, Arsenal and Chelsea. Hojlund rejected a higher wage from PSG because he wants United. Ten Hag said this in his recent interview. Ten Hag said, there were lots of doubts when we approached players last summer. This year, they see the ambition in the project and many quality players, and players really want to come. And what I think Ten Hag's done so well this season, and what I really like about this Ten Hag project, is last season, you know, you looked at Manchester United, you looked at us last season, and I forgot what I was saying. Yeah, you looked at us last season, I thought, to be honest, we weren't in the Champions League. We were off the back of our worst season. We'd lost the first 2 games of the season to Brighton and Brentford. Man United wasn't an appealing project. Manchester United, it was very hard for United to get a lot of targets last season because players were like, they're off the back of their worst season. The club is an absolute mess. People thought we were 2-3 seasons off top 4. I'd be honest, in the summer, I said there's no chance we're getting top 4 next season with the investment other clubs are doing. I didn't realise that Spurs and Chelsea were going to be as bad as Spurs and Chelsea had been. I didn't realise that Liverpool were going to drop off quite so badly. So maybe we had a little bit of luck. But, you know, Ten Hag massively overachieved. I did not think there was the smallest chance that Man United were going to get top 4 this time a year ago. And I thought, you know, it's going to be hard to get De Jong and Vincent. We're going to get top 4. It's going to be hard to get Casemiro. It's going to be hard to get these players. I think last season it was hard to get players. But this season, I feel like, you know, Ten Hag's really helped the image of United. A year ago, the image was bad. The dressing room was bad. No one wanted to be there. It was a mess. We were in the Europa League. In the space of a year, it's like everyone could see what Man United want to do again. You know, a year ago there was no project. Ollie was a mess. They weren't playing good football. The dressing room was a mess. It was. They were 3-4 years away. They were miles behind. You look at United now, getting back in the top four. What Eric Ten Hag's restored, and you go, you know what? Man United are in a lot better place. Like Man United are a team I want to join. If you're a young player now, a year ago you're going, I don't want to go to United. They're particularly unstable. It's a big risk to my career. You know, they keep changing managers. But like a year on, they're like, no, Ten Hag is a good manager. Ten Hag's getting them to play this way of football. Ten Hag's making the players better. What I like about Ten Hag is he's proven to make the players better. He's got us playing like a team. He's got us playing attractive football. He's got us back in the top four. And I think when I actually look at United, if I wasn't a United fan and I was a young player, a year ago, I wouldn't want to join United. The football they were playing wasn't good. I didn't think they were going to be in the top four. They might be unsustainable as much as I rate Ten Hag. A year forward, if I was a young player that wasn't a United fan, I'd want to join United now. I'd want to join the United project. It's a bit like Arteta with Arsenal. I think Ten Hag has made that United project exciting again as well. Ever since Fergie left, you guys don't have to buy players. Fergie would have wrapped up Kane and Rice by now. Facts. True. We do have the pull because we're United, but we don't have the pull we'd have in the Fergie days because we haven't won a trophy in 10 years, a Premier League trophy in 10 years. But I think also David Gill left with Fergie. Ed Woodward took over. Big problem when Fergie left was Ed Woodward. That's when Ed Woodward came in. And as I said, Ed Woodward is one of the biggest problems that Manchester United had for a while, I think. Really is a big problem as well. And Rasmus could really match that Haaland level a bit too early, but superb. Yeah. Obviously, I know Rasmus Hojlund compared to Haaland because they're both Nordic. Their names are kind of similar. They're both blonde hair. They're both physical. They're both quick. But to be honest, like I don't think Rasmus Hojlund will quite be that Haaland level clinical because even Haaland at Rasmus Hojlund's age was just banging it in. But I think Rasmus Hojlund has the potential to definitely be a top striker, a top striker, 20 goal a season striker. But also Rasmus Hojlund has the ability to be very important to the team. Haaland is a goal scorer, and Haaland is, of course, important to the Man City team, but Haaland is a goal scorer. Rasmus Hojlund has a little bit more to his game in the sense of Rasmus Hojlund is someone that has the ability to create, make runs, press, do a lot of ball off the work. He's not just a target man. He's not just a goal scorer. He's someone that's going to be implemented well in the system. Remember, like Roberto Firmino wasn't quite a goal scorer, but he was very important to the Liverpool system and the way they played. Now, Hojlund is way more of a striker and a goal scorer than Firmino. But I think Hojlund has the ability to not only just be a goal scorer, but connect. What I like about Harry Kane is he scores goals, but he also knows how to link up play, how to collect the ball. He's more than a scorer. I think Haaland's a scorer. So I think Hojlund has that Harry Kane-esque potential as well. Keep smashing the like button, guys. And of course, subscribe down below if you are new. Did we sign Amrabat already? There's an agreement with Amrabat and United on personal terms, but United have not put in their bid. I will say this on the Amrabat situation. Once Manchester United get Hojlund out the way, they will focus on Amrabat. It could be Hojlund signed, McTominay sold, then we put in the bids for Amrabat. United haven't put in a bid for Amrabat. So far with the Amrabat situation, he's agreed to join United. He wants United. There's a personal term agreed. Personal terms are agreed between Manchester United and Amrabat, but nothing is done because United are focusing on Hojlund. United are putting in a bid for Hojlund. They will put in a bid for Hojlund. They have put in a bid for Hojlund. That will likely be rejected. They will probably put in another bid for Hojlund. They'll probably put in another bid for Hojlund. And I think United will be just focusing on the Hojlund situation as well. Fergie would never buy Mount, Amrabat and Hojlund. But also, you know, Manchester United, people will be negative saying, look, Mount, Amrabat and Hojlund, they aren't the best signings in the world. Mount, Amrabat and Hojlund this, Mount, Amrabat and Hojlund that. Manchester United had a £120 million net spend budget to basically, they needed 4 players. They needed Casemiro back up. They needed someone to play the Eriksen role. They needed a goalkeeper. They needed a striker. The striker market's incredibly inflated. To basically get Hojlund, Onana, Mount and Amrabat, you're getting 4 players that fit Ten Hag's system that Ten Hag wants in a very limited budget. 120 million net spend. You're obviously going to make maybe 70 million in outs. So, you know, this comes to about 200 million total net spend, all of these players. We'll probably make about 70 million outs, including McTominay, Fred probably going on top of Alanga and all of that. But 120 million to 150 million net spend. Okay, and United aren't good at selling, and United need 4 key players. They need a DM. Enzo Fernandez, 100 million. Moises Caicedo, 100 million. Declan Rice, 105 million. Amrabat, 30 million pounds. DM, back up to Casemiro, 30 million pounds. Lavia is going for 50 million pounds. 30 million pounds for the 4th priority. There's the striker market. They want Harry Kane. They cannot get him. Okay, Kolo Muani being quoted £100 million. Vlahovic won't fit Ten Hag's system. Gonzalo Ramos being quoted about £80 million. Okay, Osenham being quoted £150 million. Rasmus Hojlund probably going to be £55 to £60 million. Hojlund and Amrabat probably come to a combined £75 million. Okay, Hojlund and Amrabat come to a combined £75 million. Mason Mount £55 million. Wasn't my first choice, but Caicedo was coming in at £100 million. Enzo Laffi, Man United didn't be ready. Orkun Cuckoo, Man United didn't be ready. Mason Mount, Premier League proven, was Chelsea Player of the Season 2 seasons in a row. It was Ten Hag's second choice after Frankie de Jong. Ten Hag thinks he's the perfect player. You've got Chelsea 2 times Player of the Season, Academy Boy for £55 million that the manager desperately wanted. Wasn't a bad deal. Was not a bad deal at all. £130 million for Mount, Hojlund, Amrabat. Onana, £45 million. You needed a new goalkeeper. You needed a hair replacement. Diogo Costa being quoted at £65 million. Onana, we watched in the Champions League final, polar opposite of De Gea, exactly what Ten Hag needs for his system. Man United needed someone that could do the Eriksen role, a striker, a goalkeeper that was modern, and someone that could provide backup to Amrabat. Was the 4 most important positions, 5th followed by centre-back. But obviously, Kim Min-jae was the goal. We didn't get that done. For me, we haven't signed Harry Kane. We haven't signed Declan Rice. We haven't signed the best player in the world in each position. But with the budget we're on, with the Glazers, with the takeover, Man United couldn't physically go out there and say, we're going to sign Moises Caicedo, Mason Mount, Harry Kane, Kim Min-jae, and Diogo Costa in one window. I wish we could, but we could not physically do that. And Ten Hag sat there and went, well, I need 4 positions to be addressed. We've got a limited budget. Realistically, the only way I can get all 4 of these positions addressed by signing players I want is Hojlund, Onana, Mount, and Amrabat. And I think that's really good business from United. I'm being very positive. I'm not being negative. Of course, I wanted players like Jurriën Timber and Kim Min-jae and Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo that's gone to rivals. Of course, I wanted Lavia. But I have to look at the situation from, we didn't have that crazy of a budget. We're under a lot of constraints. We've got the Glazers as owners, not Qatar. We've got the Glazers as owners. How we've been awful at transfer business in the past. This is the first summer in a very long time where United are addressing their problems. That's what I want to lay to you. For me, this is the first time in a long time where United are addressing their problems. We had what we thought was a fantastic window under Oli. We signed Ronaldo, Sancho, and Varane. Wow, I was so gassed when we signed Ronaldo, Sancho, and Varane. I thought this was fantastic. But what was our number 1 priority going into the window when we signed Ronaldo, Sancho, and Varane? It 100% should have been a DM. We 100% should have signed a CDM, and we went and signed Ronaldo when we already had Greenwood, Martial, and Cavani that could have played striker. We went and signed Varane, which was a fantastic signing, boom. And we went and signed Sancho, which we thought would be a fantastic signing, but he flopped. But there's still potential in there. But we never went and signed a DM. Under Ollie, we'd say we need this position, this position, this position. And we'd be like, we get to the end of the window, we hadn't signed that DM. We got to the end of the window, we hadn't signed that right winger. Under Ten Hag, he knows the 4 key areas, and we went and signed someone in those 4 key areas. For the first time in a while, Manchester United are signing players in the position they need. They're addressing their weaknesses. And that's why I'll be forever positive about the window. I wasn't the biggest admirer of Mason Mount. I wasn't the biggest admirer of certain players. But this is Ten Hag's team. This is Ten Hag's project. This is the player Ten Hag wants. And most importantly, the 4 weaknesses we're addressing. The 5th weakness would be centre-back Maguire and Kim Min-jae out. That's a difficult deal to do because of Maguire's wages. He takes a lot to move on. But I feel, and people would disagree, quite positive as well. Alice, have Atalanta responded to the bid? Atalanta have not responded to the bid, but Padella says the bid is likely to be rejected. Then Manchester United will go in for a higher bid for Atalanta as well. Glazers and exec are the main issue. Even the last years under Sir Alex Ferguson, we often had underwhelming windows. Exactly. And you've got to think with the Glazers in charge, with what we could actually do this window and the positions we needed to address. I'm feeling very positive. I'm feeling very positive going into next season. I'm only going to be positive because you know what? I'm not going to judge and say anything negative until the season starts. I saw people fat shaming Jadon Sancho all over social media. Sancho looks fat. Sancho's a fatty. It's the wind. It's the angle. It's the way his shirt looks. Sancho in pre-season has looked quite good in that false 9 role. Goal against Arsenal. I'd be silly going on social media. Sancho's done out there. Look how fat he is. Sancho's finished. Obviously pre-season means nothing when the season starts. But my point is, I'm going to be forever positive about United because I believe in Ten Hag. I believe in the project. My focus of negativity is on the Glazers, and I will judge players and I will judge the signings properly when the season starts. If we're 3 months into the season and we're sitting in 10th place, then I will be like, yeah, I was wrong. These weren't the right signings. We're not in the right direction. But for me, I can only be positive until the season starts. Alex says, for so long we pushed off sorting positional issues for next season, but a few more issues always pop up in the meantime. Exactly. I do think this season we might see an issue at right back. Potentially, if Anthony and Sancho do not perform, we might need another winger, and potentially we might even see the issues at striker with Rasmus Hojlund being so young. But I think we're addressing the main issues, and then obviously, as Alex said, issues will pop up this season, and we might go into next one like, yeah, we need a right back in as well. I think pre-season so far has been positive. I think Real Madrid will be the biggest test. I have to say the fact that we beat Arsenal in pre-season and Arsenal playing one of their strongest squads feels really positive. And Mount is better than Havertz and Amrabat is better than Rice. Well, I don't know if Amrabat's better than Rice, but Mount is better than Havertz. You've got to remember this, mate. Havertz has been at Chelsea 3 seasons. 3 seasons has been a flop and has lived off a Champions League final goal. Mount has been at Chelsea those 3 seasons and was their player of the season 2 of the 3 seasons and had an iffy season last year. We got Mason Mount for less money than Arsenal got Havertz. And Mason Mount has been Chelsea's player of the season 2 seasons in a row. When Chelsea sold Havertz for 65 million, Chelsea fans thought they got robbery. When Mason Mount went to United for 55 million, Chelsea fans felt betrayed because Mason Mount is levels ahead of Kai Havertz as well. Levels over Kai Havertz. I tell you what, everyone I know who's tagging Rasmus Hojlund in their Instagram stories has now got Rasmus Hojlund as a viewer. Rasmus Hojlund, I think he's just desperate to join United. The PSG obviously in for Rasmus Hojlund, and PSG will be a threat, but he 100% wants United as well. But you can tell, rejecting higher wages for PSG for Man United as well. United will move into phase 2 with Mount, Amrabat, Onana and Hojlund. Still 6.5 out of 10 ratings, but hopefully once it's done, we can move into phase 3 for world-class wingers. I actually agree with that as well. I think that's a good point as well. Jeremiah says Hojlund can be better than Haaland because he has attributes of Haaland left-footed, but also like Kane, he can come deep. I think Hojlund's got potential to be a top player as well. And Arsenal should have bought Caicedo rather than Rice. I think it's a difficult one. Had Caicedo been £70 million, better value for money, but Brighton have seen that they got 105 million for Rice, and Brighton now want 100 million for Caicedo. And for me, at the start of the window, I said United need to sign Diogo Costa, Caicedo, and Harry Kane. That should be the priorities with Kim and Jay. You know what? I love Caicedo. Of course, someone in Moyes' Caicedo over Mason Mount. I think he'd be a better fit for Manchester United. But right now, I could not deal with United still being in for Caicedo for £100 million. I'm glad we've got Mount done for £55 million. And if we want to be positive about it, I said Mount is a good signing if we get a DM alongside him because he cannot do the defensive role. Mount and Amrabat for combined £80 million. Is that a combined? Yeah, Mount and Amrabat for a combined £80 million or Caicedo for £100 million. Maybe Mount and Amrabat, 2 players for less than 1, could be the better business. And I'm Moises Caicedo's biggest admirer. Moises Caicedo, Barella, Frankie de Jong, Enzo Fernandez. I would have wanted all of those players before Mason Mount. But when you look at things, and we could still be negotiating now for Moises Caicedo, we might not sign him by the start of the season for 100 million. The fact that we signed Mount, the player that Ten Hag rates so highly, rattled Chelsea fans, and that would give us the funds to get Amrabat on top of Mount. Brilliant. If we don't sign Amrabat this summer, I'll be frustrated with the midfield. I think as good as Kobbie Mainoo's been, you can't rely on a player so young. For me, it's really important that we do go out there and we do sign Amrabat on top of Mount, because Mount is a good signing because Ten Hag wants him. He's a good player. He's a great player, but he doesn't solve a lot of our issues. So for Mount to be a real good signing for Manchester United, United will have to go out of their way and make sure they go and sign a DM as well. Guys, I just want to say I'm on 66,397 subscribers. I am 3 subscribers away from 66.4k. So if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe down below. 3 subscribers away from 66.4k. Kudus has agreed terms. I think Kudus is going to go to Chelsea, I believe. Is Kudus set to go to Chelsea? I believe that is the case as well. I'm just going to make sure there's no more transfer news coming out. Obviously, Ornstein said if we will look at Kudus if something goes wrong with Hojlund, but I think Kudus is going to Chelsea, and I can't see anything going wrong with Hojlund. Romano has confirmed that Galatasaray are particularly interested in signing Fred, and Jordan Henderson has left Liverpool for Saudi Arabia. Jordan Henderson's getting a lot of stick for going to Saudi Arabia. Obviously, he's pro-LGBT and all of that, and then everyone's calling him a hypocrite. But look, to be honest, at the end of the day, if someone is offering you £700,000 a bloody week, and at least you get hot weather there, I think a lot of us would be hypocrites for £700,000 a week. So, I mean, I don't care that Jordan Henderson's from Saudi Arabia. If Jordan Henderson was 24 years old, I would be judging him for going to Saudi Arabia. But if you're over 30 and you want to go to Saudi Arabia, you know what? Be a hypocrite if you're getting 700k a week. I always think that as well. Regarding Scott McTomminay, it was said that West Ham were weighing up a move for Scott McTomminay, but would need to cough up £45 million for United to cash in on the player. United playing that. But David Moyes, apparently, according to TalkSport, could be willing to offer up to £40 million to sign McTominay. And with McTominay eager to leave and McTominay wanting game time, this could happen. Manchester United have actually informed Scott McTominay, remember, that he can leave the club. So the interesting situation with Scott McTominay is he's actually been told he can leave the club. And unlike Maguire, who's not sure if he wants to leave or not, Scott McTominay would like to leave for more game time. So I think Scott McTominay to West Ham will definitely be something to keep an eye on. I think Hojlund's the one to focus on. United put in the Hojlund bid. I think the Hojlund, here we go, could come soon. But I think McTominay is the one to focus on. I spoke about Hojlund the first 10 minutes of the video. Then from 10 minutes to 20 minutes of the video, I sort of spoke about McTominay. So if you've just joined the live stream and you're like, what's the Hojlund news? What's the McTominay news? My recommendation would be scrolling right back to the beginning of the live stream where I got into it as well. Ten Hag wants David Alaba for versatility and experience. I'm not a big fan of David Alaba. I think he's not been great at Real Madrid. I think he's aging now. And I'm not a big fan of Disasi either. Maybe I'm being picky. I liked Kim Min-jae, I liked Jurriën Timber, and I liked Thibodeau. Now, guys, we're on 66,399 subscribers. If you're watching right now and you're not subscribed, please can you just go and click that subscribe button? I'm one subscriber away from 66.4k, and of course smash the like button. I'm going to have to end the live stream here because I've got quite a few things to do today. I've got to pop off. I've got to go and do some bits and pieces. I was meant to start the live stream 5 minutes earlier, so it will be ended 5 minutes before normal. So thank you everyone for tuning into today's live stream. I cover the Hojlund news right at the start of the video and then get into the McTominay news. So if you just joined the live stream, just skip back to the beginning, smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching, and bye.